Alright, so whilst I've been gone, shit's escalated. Lockdown is here. The main problem once COVID-19 made the UK is that the population is very, very dense, particularly in London. Now, you can choose to interpret those words however you feel. Both fucking definitions work. Nevertheless, that hasn't stopped yet more idiots acting like it's one big national fucking public holiday during lockdown. The fuck faces. I mean, how much clearer does it need to be that you can't go and meet your mates at the park for a fucking picnic or go to a place of worship, you fuckwits? People are dying. NHS staff are begging and pleading with you to stay home, whilst our Prime Minister himself was momentarily hospitalised, having foolishly put his trust in people to act responsibly. Fuck me. If this ain't painting a fucking picture, then you, my friend, have your head so far up your arse that you could lick the coronavirus off your own throat before you go and lick a random piece of fucking hand assistance on public transport. For fuck's sake. Admittedly, we have got our head fairly far down the stupidity rabbit hole when we're looking at pictures of people licking plain toilets, but hey, welcome to 2020, the generation of rights and privilege over values and responsibility. This is what happens. Now, granted, not everybody is this fucking brainless. Nevertheless, it hasn't stopped the progressives. Somehow, in an unprecedented feat of mental gymnastics that can only be applauded for its audacity and its originality, it transpires that if you voted Tory, this whole thing is your fault. For your information, I'm still tracking the very best conspiracy theories to determine when it's originated and who is to blame, China, and we'll talk more about that in the future. But Tory voters, I mean, come on. If you're asking me who'd shot that pheasant or opened an offshore account, then I'd be inclined to agree with you. Yep, definitely a Tory. But a global pandemic that originated in China, seems far-fetched and grasping at political straws for the sake of point scoring only. And yes, before anybody gets too fucking triggered, I do understand your point is that the Tories have been selling off sectors of the NHS, and that is why we don't have the facilities to deal with this problem more efficiently. However, you seem to have totally forgotten how much money we wasted tragically and ruthlessly bombing the very same people you now want to provide shelter to for fucking oil by our good friend and war criminal, Tony Blair. Remember that prick? So we open our borders and now also require a system that can cope with the extra stresses needed for immigration and can barely cope normally and certainly can't cope now. Oh yeah, and this bumbling idiot for selling all our gold to the Chinese. I can't believe how much the Tories have fucked it all up given such a solid platform by our last elected Labour government. The fucking front to abscond from responsibility and place it on the shoulders of the voter who were given literally no choice but to vote for Tory because of the utter incompetence and far left policies and fake altruism provided by the opposition. I didn't vote Tory, but I think it's absolutely disgraceful that people are trying to shame a vast majority of the country for doing so. It's a natural disaster, and it's some sort of fucking odd game that these people have invented for themselves, which involves moral point scoring and means devaluing the opinions of others. Fuck you, you virtue signalling cunts. Go and watch South Park, and maybe you'll understand. Oh, but if there's money for the NHS and to support businesses, there's money to pay everybody. Where was it before? Jesus Christ, have you ever managed money before? Like, even your own? Being a little bit conservative and saving for a rainy day is kind of prudent. Besides, this is hardly sustainable. The country will run out of money, we will plunge into debt, and I wonder which nations that could benefit. It's through necessity, not choice, dumbasses. Besides, Labour's pledge under the new Momentum movement would probably have been to have plunged all public NHS funds into the gender alteration department or some weird fucking pseudoscience. Like anything could be done by a government a few months into term when being caught off guard by a global pandemic. If Labour would have won, not that they ever stood a chance, then you'd have been spouting off the same shite about how we should have voted for Labour in the previous election. You know, even after they entered an illegal war, sold gold, opened the borders, failed to put logistical infrastructure in place for the stress of the system, etc., etc. Because despite these failures and lack of value of human life, they would have looked after the NHS. Right. Honestly, the Tories have got in twice now, and it's not because the public lack compassion. It's through Labour's current and historic ineptitude. Stop blaming normal people for this tragedy. It's absolutely revealing of maturity levels when people are saying they're glad Boris is sick purely because of the political party that he works for. It's exactly the kind of hatred that liberals should be completely and utterly against. Yet here they are reveling in any kind of despair or torture that happens to anybody else that doesn't agree with their political view. Madness. There's plenty more stupidity to cover. We've got the 5G conspiracy theorists and we've got the anti vaxxers to address yet. Also, digging deeper about the origins of this virus. But I'm pissed off now, so I'm going to go and get a beer and put some lemonade in it. Laters.